My friends, today we gather not just to mark a moment in history, but to recognize a transformation that has reverberated across every continent, every ocean, and every community of this planet. For centuries, the world has measured power through empires and armies, through economies and technologies, through the force of will and the courage of vision. And now, in the year 2025, a new reality stands before us. India has risen to become the #1 superpower in the world. This is not a story of sudden fortune. It is not a tale of overnight success. It is the culmination of centuries of resilience, decades of struggle, and years of determination by more than 1 billion people who believed that their nation could shape the destiny of humanity. For too long, India was seen through the lens of potential. Observers spoke of its promise, its possibilities, its future. But now, we can say without hesitation that future has arrived. India no longer waits for the world's recognition. India leads the world. Let us reflect for a moment on how this extraordinary transformation came to be. Because the rise of India is not merely the triumph of a nation, it is the triumph of values, of ideas, and of a spirit that refused to be broken. When the world doubted India, India invested in education. When others underestimated its ability, India harnessed its democracy. When the odds were stacked against its people, India unleashed its creativity. And when global powers tried to limit its reach, India expanded its horizons. What does it mean to be the world's #1 superpower? It does not mean dominance through fear. It does not mean controlling others through might. True superpower status is not about dictating terms. It is about setting standards. It is about leading with vision, building with integrity, and inspiring with example. India has not only built the world's fastest growing economy, but it has also built the world's largest bridge between tradition and innovation. From the streets of Mumbai to the valleys of Kashmir, from the digital hubs of Bengaluru to the rural schools of Bihar, the Indian story has been written in both code and compassion, in both ambition and humility. Consider the transformation of India's economy. Just a generation ago, it was described as developing, emerging, struggling to meet the demands of a vast population. Today, it is the engine of global growth, surpassing every major economy in scale and scope. Indian technology has not only powered its own progress, but has reshaped industries across the globe. Its companies design the future of artificial intelligence. Its scientists lead in space exploration. Its innovators set the pace for renewable energy, and its entrepreneurs redefine global commerce. But economic strength alone does not define a superpower. There is also the strength of culture. India has given the world music and dance, cinema and literature, philosophy and science. Its traditions are thousands of years old, and yet they are renewed every day in the lives of ordinary people. From yoga to Ayurveda, from the wisdom of its scriptures to the energy of its youth, India has shared with the world a heritage that enriches all of humanity. And in this era, as the #1 superpower, India has not turned inward. It has not hoarded its wealth of culture and knowledge. It has opened its arms wider, inviting the world to learn, to share, to celebrate together. Let us also speak of India's democracy. At a time when authoritarianism has risen in many corners of the globe, when the temptation of strongmen has pulled nations away from liberty, India has stood firm in its commitment to democracy. 1 billion voices, diverse in language, religion, and tradition, come together to shape their collective destiny. There is no greater example of pluralism in action, no greater testament to the power of freedom than the Indian experiment. And it is not merely surviving, it is thriving. To lead the world requires more than wealth, more than power. It requires moral courage. India has displayed that courage time and again. When conflict has erupted, it has offered mediation. When climate change has threatened the planet, it has pioneered green solutions. When poverty has lingered, it has crafted social innovations to lift millions. When pandemics have struck, it has shared vaccines not only with its own citizens, but with the most vulnerable abroad. That is what leadership looks like, not self-preservation, but global service. Now, some will ask, How did India surpass those who once held the mantle of superpower? The answer lies in choices. While others invested in rivalry, India invested in resilience. While others competed for resources, India created opportunities. While others drew lines of division, India built bridges of cooperation. And so, when the tides of history shifted, India was not swept away. It was standing tall, ready to guide. Let us not forget that this journey was not without hardship. India faced poverty, inequality, corruption, and skepticism. It faced challenges in infrastructure, in governance, in opportunity, but it overcame them through persistence. Each village electrified, each child educated, each entrepreneur supported, each farmer empowered. These were the bricks laid for the foundation of a superpower. And in that foundation, we see the fingerprints of ordinary Indians who dreamed extraordinary dreams. As India rises, so too does the responsibility it carries. To be the #1 superpower is not to sit at the head of the table and claim the largest share. It is to invite others to the table and ensure that no voice is silenced, no nation forgotten, no person left behind. India must lead not only with its might, but with its morality, not only with its technology, but with its humanity. The world today faces crises that transcend borders: climate change, inequality, terrorism, migration, pandemics, technological disruption. No one nation can solve these challenges alone, but the world looks to India now because India has shown that leadership is possible without arrogance, that progress is possible without oppression, that greatness is possible without conquest. Think of the power of example India offers. A farmer in Punjab who adopts solar energy and feeds not only his family but contributes to a cleaner planet. A young girl in Chennai who learns to code and goes on to design technologies that transform healthcare across continents. A doctor in Kolkata who develops treatments shared with Africa and Latin America. A film from Bollywood that inspires a child in Brazil. A teacher in a remote village who, through digital tools, connects with classrooms around the world. These are not small acts, they are building blocks of a new global order. Now there will be skeptics. There will be those who resist the idea of a multipolar world with India at its heart. They will question its readiness, its stability, its sustainability. But history is not written by skeptics. History is written by those who believe, who act, who dare, and India has dared to dream beyond its borders, dared to stand against odds, dared to believe in its people. As we look ahead, the question is not whether India can lead. It already does. The question is how India will choose to shape that leadership. Will it choose inclusion over exclusion, cooperation over conflict, sustainability over short-term gain? I believe the answer lies in the very character of its people, because the heart of India has always been its humanity, in the villages where neighbors of different faiths celebrate each other's festivals. In the cities where innovation thrives in shared spaces, in the institutions where debate and dissent are seen not as threats but as strengths, in the soldiers who guard the borders with honor, in the children who carry both tradition and technology in their hearts. These are the signs of a nation prepared not only to lead the world but to lift it. So let us say clearly, India has become the world's #1 superpower. Not by chance, not by conquest, but by conviction. Not by force, but by faith in itself, in its people, in the possibility that the world can be better when nations choose to be better. My friends, this is not just India's moment, it is humanity's moment. Because when one nation rises with integrity, it inspires all nations. When one people achieve the impossible, it reminds all people of what is possible. When India leads with wisdom, it reminds the world that true power is not measured by what you take, but by what you give. And so today, as we recognize India's place at the summit of global power, let us also recognize the responsibility we all share to work alongside it. Because the challenges of our age will not be solved by one nation alone, no matter how powerful. But they can be solved when nations unite under the leadership of those who believe in unity itself. India has arrived. The world has changed. And history will remember this year not as the moment when one nation surpassed another, but as the moment when humanity took a step closer to realizing its shared destiny. For in the rise of India, we see not the decline of others, but the rise of us all. The world follows not because India is the strongest, but because it is the most steadfast. Strength has always been admired in history. Empires rose and fell because of armies, because of conquest, because of economic domination. Yet if we look closely, those empires did not endure. Their legacies were often written in violence, their achievements measured in temporary triumphs, their power sustained by fear. But steadfastness is different. It is not about a moment of glory, but about centuries of persistence. It is not about bending others to your will, but about never bending from your own principles. And this is why the rise of India has been so profound, so transformative, so enduring. India did not become the #1 superpower by chasing the illusions of might. It became what it is today by holding on to its values, by refusing to abandon its commitments, by staying firm in the face of challenges that would have broken lesser nations. For decades, the world looked at India and wondered how such diversity could be managed, how such poverty could be overcome, how such contradictions could coexist. Yet India did not surrender to chaos. It did not fragment under pressure. It remained steadfast, steadfast in its belief in democracy, steadfast in its faith in progress, steadfast in its devotion to humanity. And because of that, the world now looks to India not as a fleeting giant, but as a steady hand guiding humanity forward. The measure of strength is often visible in weapons, in fleets, in economies that dwarf others. But the measure of steadfastness is more subtle, more profound. It is in the child who studies by the dim light of a lamp in a rural village, refusing to give up on education. It is in the farmer who adapts to new methods, even when tradition pulls him back, because he believes tomorrow can be better than today. It is in the entrepreneur who fails, rises again, fails again, and rises once more, refusing to surrender to despair. It is in the millions of people who stood together despite differences of language, faith, and region, because they believed in the larger idea of India. This daily endurance, this collective patience, this refusal to break under weight, this is what steadfastness looks like. And when the world saw India's rise, it was not frightened, it was inspired, because power born of strength alone creates rivals, but power born of steadfastness creates followers. When nations see a country that refuses to abandon democracy, even when democracy is messy, they trust it. When they see a country that insists on solving problems through innovation rather than exploitation, they admire it. When they see a country that takes centuries old culture and blends it with modern technology, they respect it. And when they see a country that has faced adversity after adversity yet stands upright without bitterness, they follow it. Steadfastness is not glamorous. It is not always visible. It is not the roar of a lion, but the slow, steady beat of a heart that refuses to stop. And in India's rise, that heartbeat has been constant. Through colonization, it endured. Through poverty, it endured. Through wars and tensions, it endured. Through global skepticism, it endured. And when the 21st century tested the world with pandemics, with climate crisis, with technological disruptions, India once again proved that steadfastness is the foundation on which leadership must be built. The world does not follow India today because of fear of its weapons. It follows because India chose to use its power differently. It distributed vaccines when others hoarded them. It invested in renewable energy when others clung to fossil fuels. It trained its youth for the future when others struggled to hold on to the past. It reached out to partners across Asia, Africa, Latin America, and beyond, not as subordinates, but as equals. It spoke with humility where others spoke with arrogance. And because of this, nations realized that India's rise was not a threat to them. It was an opportunity for them. Steadfastness requires patience, and patience is often mistaken for weakness. For years, analysts said India was too slow, too bureaucratic, too divided to ever truly lead. They compared it unfavorably to those who grew faster, built faster, acted faster, but what they did not see was the strength hidden in that patience. They did not see that democracy takes time, but it builds resilience. They did not see that consensus may be slow, but it is enduring. They did not see that lifting millions from poverty may not make headlines, but it makes history. And so while others surged and stumbled, India moved slowly but surely, and in the end, it surpassed them all. To be steadfast is to endure criticism without abandoning course. It is to face storms without losing direction. It is to remain true to yourself even when the world tempts you to betray your values. India was tempted many times to abandon democracy for the efficiency of authoritarianism, to abandon equality for the speed of exclusion, to abandon cooperation for the allure of dominance, but it did not yield. It chose the harder path, the longer road, the more uncertain journey, and because it stayed the course, it now stands at the summit. The world has seen many strong nations, but strength is not enough. Strength may win battles, but steadfastness wins generations. Strength may command respect in fear, but steadfastness earns respect in trust. Strength may last a moment, but steadfastness lasts a lifetime. The world follows India not because it is the largest economy, though it is. Not because it has the most advanced technologies, though it does. Not because it has the largest population, though it carries that too. The world follows India because it believes India will not falter, because it has proven time and again that it will not abandon its people, its principles, its promises. Consider how this steadfastness has influenced global issues. On climate change, India could have claimed exemption as a developing nation. Instead, it made ambitious commitments, leading the world in solar power and renewable innovation. On global health, India could have prioritized only its own population. Instead, it became the pharmacy of the world, exporting life, saving medicines and vaccines. On technology, India could have built barriers. Instead, it fostered global partnerships, shaping digital progress while respecting data and democracy. These choices did not come from strength alone. They came from the steadiness of principle, and now, as nations look for leadership in uncertain times, they turn to India, not because it threatens them, but because it steadies them. In Africa, leaders see a partner who once walked the road of poverty and now walks the road of progress. In Asia, neighbors see a stabilizing presence. In Europe, allies see a balance of tradition and innovation. In the Americas, partners see a nation committed to fairness. Across the globe, the common thread is clear. India is trusted because it has been tested, and it has not broken. Steadfastness also comes with sacrifice. To stay the course requires patience from the people. It requires trust in leaders, resilience in institutions, belief in each other. India's people carried that burden, generations who toiled with little reward, citizens who voted again and again in faith that their voice mattered, innovators who worked with fewer resources than their global counterparts but never gave up, soldiers who guarded borders without hesitation, families who sacrificed comfort so their children could have education. Each of these acts, small in isolation, together created the steadfast nation the world now follows. There is also a spiritual dimension to steadfastness. India's philosophies, its scriptures, its teachings have always emphasized endurance, discipline, and balance. Whether in the patience of yoga, the resilience of meditation, or the wisdom of its traditions, India has carried within it an ancient capacity to withstand storms. That spiritual strength has now translated into global leadership. It has shown the world that true power is not about bending the external world to your will, but about mastering your own inner resolve. The world follows India today not only for what it has achieved, but for how it has achieved it, with steadiness, with dignity, with resilience, with patience. It is the most steadfast, and that is why it has become the most trusted.